Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to CPA Site Solutions presentation of the perfect strategy to get new clients with pay-per-click. Now, this is a short presentation, but we will be covering a lot of material. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about what PPC is, so everyone is on the same page, how to prepare for a PPC strategy, things you should consider during the implementation and optimization phases of your campaign, and of course, we'll be going over some performance and reporting topics that you should probably know about. And then finally, we'll be going over some partnering options if you choose to partner with CPA Site Solutions to help you with your PPC advertising needs. All right, so first and foremost, what is PPC? Well, pay-per-click advertising is an internet advertising model used to direct traffic to websites in which the advertiser, you, pays the publisher, search engines in this case, each time the ad is clicked. Essentially, you pay every time someone shows and engages with your ad rather than each time you show an ad, which is why this pricing model is so popular. You can position your firm as a solution to people's needs instead of being an interruption with a direct mailer or ad as like you would with a traditional marketing method. You can get in front of people when they're actively looking for your services as an accountant. And then note that with PPC moving forward, we will be mostly discussing Google AdWords as it is the most popular pay-per-click advertising platform for search engines. All right, so let's talk about preparation and what to prepare when you're setting up a Google AdWords PPC campaign. All right, so first you're going to want to discuss your firm's and analyze your firm's goals, your overall marketing goals. You'll need to consider which services and or geographic locations are most valuable to you. So the thing about PPC is that you are not, unlike SEO, you are not restricted to a specific geographical location. So strategizing how you market your services in a particular location becomes more important when it comes to PPC. Once you've decided on what's important for you, you can use that information to inform your PPC strategy. And advertising campaigns are then created from that information and used to first set it up and optimize to provide your firm with the best return on investment. All right, some common pitfalls to avoid when creating a strategy. You'll need to discuss which services and areas you are interested the most, and that's because there are a couple of very common mistakes that we see with a lot of accountants that attempt to do pay-per-click. One of which is marketing to all services, absolutely every single service they offer, and that's generally not the best idea because it somewhat forces you to blow through your spend, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. The other one is marketing too many services or areas at the same time. So, different markets are going to have different costs associated with them, so spreading yourself too thin is not ideal. So, why is that? Well, that's because your AdWords campaign is going to divide your monthly budget into a daily budget. So, say for example, just to make it easy, you have a monthly budget of $30. And that divided throughout the month is going to be roughly $1 for every day. Okay. Now let's say, for example, that the cost for someone to click on your ad in Los Angeles is 90 cents. And let's say that you also want to target San Diego. The cost per click in that area is $1. And then say, for example, you want to also target Riverside, which you're basically targeting all of Southern California in this particular scenario. That particular cost is 80 cents. However, you only have a total budget of $1. So if we choose Los Angeles and we only have $1, that leaves San Diego and Riverside out because now you don't have enough room in your budget to actually target these areas. So the recommendation typically for this is to focus on 2 to 4 specialties at the time of launching your campaign so that you don't spread your budget too thin. All right, so let's talk about implementation and optimization. All right, so when you're building out your campaign, it should be focused with the appropriate keywords and ads to support your marketing goals while keeping the user in mind and ensuring a consistent message throughout their experience with your ads. So first, what you're going to want to do is you're going to create a campaign, and that is how AdWords is structured. A campaign is basically the overall theme of your marketing or advertising campaign. Then you're going to want to segment your marketing areas into ad groups, which is actually a collection of keywords that you're targeting to trigger specific ads. Then you'll want to create the actual content or copy. So you'll be creating ads within a specific ad group that addresses the targeted keywords. And then, of course, you'll want to think about where people are actually going to be directed to, and that's going to be your landing page. So ideally for your landing page, you'll want to include the same keywords that are within the ad group that's driving to that landing page. And then, of course, you'll want to create the keywords that are really the root of this whole thing. So let's go through a quick example. Let's say a searcher enters the words accountant that helps with payroll. It's a more long tail keyword, but it's there. So then the searcher is shown your ad. Your ad within that you program within the payroll accountant ad group, if you decided to segment your campaign this way, is displayed. The searcher then, if compelled, clicks on your ad. Then they're taken to their landing page, which is all about payroll accounting. Notice that there are no generalizations of accountants because the searcher is looking for payroll accountants specifically, so you want your content to reflect that. And in the end of it, you hope that your searcher fills out a form and then actually contacts you. Okay, one thing to note about keywords is there's two different types. There's regular keywords, those are the keywords that you are targeting, and then there are negative keywords. So keywords are words and search phrases that you do want to show up for, essentially. The thing about keywords with pay-per-click advertising is that there's 4 types. And basically, it's a way to match search phrases and keywords people use, and then you restrict on how specific you want those keywords to be by specifying what we call a match type. There are 4 different types. There's broad match, there's broad match modified, there's phrase match, and exact match. And each one gets incrementally more restrictive and specific on how it matches to a keyword that is entered. So you can target on broad match, which basically triggers an ad that includes any word or key phrase in any order within the search. So say, for example, someone is searching for tax preparation. On a broad match, that could pull up a search phrase such as good thing about income taxes or how much tax do I pay, because the word is in there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that search query is relevant. So with broad match, you're not getting very specific. Then you have broad match modified. It allows you to cast a wide net, but it gives you a little more control by locking individual words in the phrase by using the plus sign parameter. Essentially what that means is that the query must include all of those terms so that it'll attribute it to that match type. Phrase match gets a little more specific. So the words that you are targeting on a phrase match type means that all of those words need to appear in the search query in that order. And then exact match is self-explanatory. It has to match the search query exactly. And with exact matches, we typically see higher click-through rates and conversion rates because, that's exactly what the searcher intends to do. Okay, so that's a lot about keywords. So let's go and move on to negative keywords. So negative keywords are actually search phrases that you do not want to show up for. Negative keywords prevent ads from showing for irrelevant search terms like how much do I pay for taxes, and actually help to minimize junk phone calls because you can actually trigger an ad to have the user call directly from that ad. So for example, say a keyword accounting firm on phrase match, Google will trigger an ad for accounting firm jobs on that search. And while it's technically relevant, you don't want to have to pay for someone to send you their resume. So what you do is you add a negative keyword that says jobs or salary or even the words free and cheap, so that anytime those words are used, your ad does not show up and you don't get that type of traffic, which is, not quality traffic in your case. All right, so one thing that can be done with pay-per-click is called ad scheduling. So basically you can specify when you want your display ads to show during a specific time of day. It helps manage your spend because you only run ads during a specific time of day instead of running them 24/7. And this is especially useful for accounting firms in highly competitive areas. So for example, say that your firm is targeting business owners, and you set up an ad group that says business tax returns, right? You can schedule that specific ad group to run during specific times of the day, maybe during the workday when business owners are likely to be searching for your services. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to performance and reporting, and these are some of the things that you should look out for when you're running your campaign. Once you launch your PPC campaign, you can determine your ROI by capturing leads in two ways. The most common way of doing it is by designating a thank you page on your website that is triggered when someone submits a form on your landing page. Google can track every time that thank you page is hit, or AdWords can, and then it'll count it as a conversion. Another way to do that is to monitor phone calls that stem from the ad. So you can actually program the ads to, on a mobile device, have a call to click number. And people can call that number directly. This method usually requires a third-party software that's compatible with your website and Google AdWords because it's going to require you to set up a tracking number. But it is effective. So we're going to go over just briefly over how phone call tracking works. Typically what happens is a unique tracking number is set up for you, and that tracking number will then forward the phone call to your main office phone number so that you can take the call. When someone clicks on your ad, the tracking number is displayed on your website, and then so calls to that tracking number are captured, which allow you to view how many calls you received and actually how long they lasted as well. And then as soon as the call is completed, you can receive an email notification with the caller's number, caller ID, date and time, and duration of call. So really you're getting information on all of the leads that you're getting. That way you can see how many clicks your campaign is receiving and how many new client leads are being generated from those clicks, including the phone calls. All right, so after your campaign is launched, you can't just set it and forget it. This is one of the most time-intensive digital marketing platforms for a reason, because it's actually critical to monitor and optimize your performance to ensure the highest ROI. So that includes optimizing negative keywords. Negative keywords, you're just going to discover, and so you're going to have to monitor your keywords and add anything that you see that may pop up that you don't really want to be associated with. It's also going to have you monitor bids and adjust bids accordingly depending on your market, because it is an auction-based platform, so bids are going to change. So just some of the things that you should be aware of when you're running your own campaign is, that all campaigns must be frequently and closely monitored. Also, new keywords must be added, and you should also consider testing ad copy. So AdWords will allow you to A/B test, meaning that you can run two ads with only one slight adjustment to a test ad, so that you can judge performance based on that small change. If an ad seems to be underperforming, that's really when you would probably want to start testing your ads to make your ads more effective. In terms of looking at reports, your reports really should include an overall summary of the activity on your account. So, how many times your ads have been shown, how many clicks you've gotten. You should also be able to see more granular detail so that you can really find places for optimization and for the best return on your investment. In terms of CPA Site Solutions, if you did decide to partner with us, just know that we do provide quarterly consultation to view reports and make adjustments. So if you were to partner with us, you wouldn't be on your own in this case. If you're inexperienced, you're going to want an expert at your side. And remember that PPC is the fastest way to get your firm listed, but the real benefit comes from a long-term plan with PPC. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this in too much detail. You guys will have the slides if you want to review. I just want to set expectations. If you do decide to partner, just know that we're here. We're definitely here to help you. Our services can help you with campaign setup, ad creation, ad reviews, ROI measurement, continual optimization. Norm can tell you all about that. And of course, ongoing reporting so you know exactly what's happening with your campaign. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We have our internet marketing advisors to help you, even if you just want to discuss some of the possibilities. It is almost tax season, so pay-per-click, if you're going to pull the trigger on anything during the season, pay-per-click is probably your best option. At this point, we're going to go ahead and go to the live Q&A session. So again, in your GoToWebinar panel, you have a questions section. So please feel free to ask any questions. We have Norm available to you right now, so you can ask any questions that you want to. So I'm just going to give it just 1 minute. Okay, so here's a good question. Let's see. Norm, maybe you can answer this one. How much do clicks cost?
That is a great question indeed. It's one that I typically get asked during our kickoff calls, and it's actually also one of the hardest ones to answer because there are so many variables. And first of all, just understand that AdWords is an ad auction platform, and there's a great video actually by Hal Varian, who's the chief economist. If you ever Google Hal Varian, Google AdWords Insights, he explains how the actual algorithm works. But essentially what it is, it's an ad auction. We tell Google how much we're willing to bid on a particular keyword, and that bid is just us saying we don't want to pay any more than this amount. And what we actually pay is typically 60, 70, 80% of that bid, depending on the area that the auction is being run in. If it's New York City, the keywords are going to be more expensive than maybe other areas of the country. And then there's also certain categories that are more expensive. So IRS problems, for example, is a very competitive area. To run keywords like IRS tax help or IRS tax audit representation, those costs per clicks could be substantial compared to, say, maybe local accountant or CPA firm. And that's not to say you can't get traction in those competitive keywords. It's just understand that that those costs per clicks are going to be much higher, and as Fanny pointed out, your daily budget is going to impact that. So if you have a daily budget of $10, which is about a monthly budget of $300, the most you can pay for a click will be about $10 because that's all you have in the budget. In the IRS problem area, one click could be $10 or even higher. So that's something you want to talk with the account advisor about, and they give you some more detail about how our how our service works. And then during the campaign launch, I will go into much more granular detail about the categories you're looking at, you're thinking about, which ones I might recommend over others. But hopefully that answered the question. I know it wasn't a direct answer because I don't really have a specific cost per click to share with you, but that's kind of how it works.
No, that was great. Thank you. Okay, so we actually have quite a few questions rolling in now. Let's see, here's a good one. It says, what is a typical monthly PPC budget for a sole practitioner?
Another great question. And again, there are many variables, but I can tell you that we the service that we run, we do ask for a minimum monthly budget of $400 for your campaign. And as Fanny pointed out, that's actually implemented as a daily spend on Google, because that's actually how Google AdWords works. So the minimum $400 a month budget would give us a daily spend of about $13. And some clients hit that $13 budget frequently. And again, obviously, the more densely populated areas, the larger cities, you need a higher budget to keep your ads running more frequently than you do in other areas. If you're in a remote area, that $13 a day, sure, you may hit it once or twice a week, but even though you've allocated a $13 a day budget, again, it's pay per click, meaning you only spend that money if someone clicks your ads. So it really does vary. And again, we have a minimum monthly budget of $400, and with that budget over time, once a campaign's running, we can give you better information, such as what your average cost per click is, what the average cost per click is in the various categories, via payroll, accounting, tax preparation, QuickBooks, etc. And we'll be able to tell you how much your budget might be holding you back. So we think 400 is a good place to launch, and then over time, we can tell you if that's enough, and if it's not, we can make recommendations. When we start seeing those results, those leads come in, we can tell you, how much more budget or how much more you can apply to make sure your ads keep running during the day.
Oh, wow, we have a lot of great questions coming up. Thank you for this, Norm. Okay, so here's a good one that I think will resonate with a lot of people. If I already have a CPA site solution website, would I use a separate website for PPC in order to decrease our services?
No. Well, when we run a pay-per-click campaign, we'll only run pay-per-click for clients that have a website with us. So if your website's not hosted with us, we would not be managing the pay-per-click. And there's some good reasons for that. I mean, we need access to the website to add landing pages, which is a part of our service. So we're going to create those landing pages that Fanny talked about. We also need access to do the phone call tracking, to do the conversion tracking code. So the way we run the pay-per-click campaign, again, we only do it for clients that are hosting their website with us, and we direct the traffic to pages on that website.
Okay, so to further clarify, we would create new landing pages to direct your PPC traffic to, but that would be based on your website, so it would be hosted by your website. We wouldn't want to create a completely new website on the side. Okay, let's see. There are a few questions around pricings for the programs. We do have packages available, which you can find on our website under other services we offer. And really, this is if you're interested in the packages, then at this point you would want to talk to your internet marketing advisor to see what fits for you. So have a very honest discussion of what you can afford, how much you think you can put towards your spend on your PPC budget, and then what your goals are, so that we can find a package that fits your needs.
I did see a question here. I wanted to answer the question, how can I learn when the best day and or time to run my ads? And that one is a good question. And I typically, when I launch a campaign, again, depending on lots of variables, I will launch the campaign such that it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because these are targeted campaigns, right? Your ads are going to show when people are actively looking for your services. So if someone chooses to look for local CPA near me at 3 o'clock in the morning, why not show them your ad? However, that said, I will look at the location and the budget, and if I think that the budget is not sufficient for the area or the categories we're running the campaign in, I certainly might, from the get-go, launch a campaign that's only going to be during business hours. And again, like Fanny mentioned, that the strategy there would be they're probably more apt to engage with the firm during the business hours. So if we're limited by budget, let's try to focus that budget during the highest ROI times. So some of that's kind of, just through experience and gut feel, but also too, we will be reporting when your clicks are happening. So in your reports, you will see, the breakdown by day of the month and by hour of the day. And typically, you might guess, sure, there are some searches late at night or early in the morning, but by and large, most of the volume, no surprise, is going to be from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. During those hours. That's where most of the volume and most of the expense will go.
Okay, you know what? That actually would be a great. I have a great follow-up question from Turia. Let's see. It says, "What is a good budget to have to find a good ROI?"
That's a great question, and it does vary from area to area. I like to tell clients that, and again, we spend a lot of time looking at what a good budget to have is, and we kind of came in this $400 area as a starting point, and that's where I like to start clients off. Again, it's $13 a day, and that gives me flexibility in my bidding strategies to get the ads to show when people are actively searching, and then once we launch that campaign and start seeing results come in, then we can see what the impact of that budget is and should we be allocating more money. But typically that's enough to work with to start getting traction, and then once we start seeing those leads come in, I'll be able to tell you from the reporting how many clicks, or estimate, I should say, how many clicks you're missing, and from that, of course, how many potential leads you're missing by not having a higher budget. But I do think $400 a month is a reasonable place to start, and I certainly wouldn't go less than that. And there are certain areas where, I would probably suggest going higher. IRS problems in Chicago is about I saw a cost per click of about $13 a day. So at a $400 a month budget, one click and the ads are going to stop for that day. So it's hard to get traction at that rate. But in general, the average client, the local accounting firm where we're looking at bookkeeping, accounting, CPA, those types of terms, 400 I think is a great starting point, even in Chicago.
Perfect. Okay. I think we have time for a couple more questions. These are you guys are definitely asking. So let's see. There's one more on the process and how things are set up. So the question is, would you make the thank you page or the thank you form tied to the website that it is submitted to? In other words, how do you set up conversions on the landing page and thank you page?
It is the thank you, the thank you page. So I do add a specific thank you page, and I direct all the forms on the site to that thank you page. And then that thank you page has a cookie or conversion tracking code on it that will trigger or fire when someone who lands on the site from the AdWords campaign fills out that form and hits that thank you page. And because it's on the thank you page that processes all the forms, it doesn't matter if the person navigates away from the original landing page. Say they eventually go to the contact page. If they contact you, point being, if they, regardless of which page they contact you from, it will get triggered as a conversion, and that tracking code is good for 90 days. So if someone clicks your ad today, comes back 89 days later and fills out a contact form, it'll still get triggered as a conversion. And the same is true with the phone call tracking, where that is cookied for a period of 90 days. So so that we can track that. CPAs and accountants are not impulse purchases. Sure, most of those conversions happen same day, but not always. Sometimes, that it takes a few days, or it takes a week or a month for the person to decide that, they're ready to move forward and learn more about your firm.
Perfect. Okay,
And,
so
and by the way, whatever questions
yeah,
we don't have time for, if any, if you weren't going to say this, you probably were, but I
yeah.
will keep track of these and I will contact you folks directly to try to answer your questions.
Yes, I was actually going to get to that. I'm going to do one more question out loud, and then we'll go ahead and conclude the speaking portion of the presentation. But if you guys have any more questions, we still have a few rolling through. Norm and I will keep the webinar open so that he can go ahead and contact you directly through the platform. Okay? So let's just do one more that I'm sure is top of mind for everyone. You know, $4,800 a year in spend is a lot of money. What guarantee do you offer as CPA Site Solutions?
So there's no guarantee, I suppose, well, what is the guarantee? So we guarantee that we're going to get the ads up and running, and that people who do a search and click your ad, are going to visit your site. And then we, of course, craft the landing pages to encourage that engagement, so that people who do click your ads will hopefully take that next step, which is to contact you, because obviously that's really what it's about, is getting those contact forms and those phone calls. You should expect, I mean, it's really hard. Again, it depends on where the campaign's launched, how many categories we're running for the campaign, what those categories are. Some categories convert better than others. Just as a quick example, local CPA and accountant, those are obviously, or not obviously, but those are the strongest categories that get the highest return on investment. Meaning leads anyway. Whereas, say, business planning tends to be, I think that people who are doing business planning related searches, they're not quite as engaged as, say, someone who's looking for a local accounting firm. A lot of the business planning searches tend to be people who are looking for more information, so those don't convert quite as well. And then, of course, certain areas of the country are going to get higher volume than others, and of course that's also impacted by budget. So the quantity of leads, there is no guarantee that you're going to get X number of phone calls or form conversions, during a given time. But I can tell you that you should expect to, see 4 or 5 phone calls and some form conversions come in throughout the month. And I throw those numbers out there. It does vary from area to area and budget to budget and category to category. So I don't want to set the wrong expectations. What I would suggest is, talk to your account advisor who can look more at your specific situation and give you maybe some better advice and set better expectations for you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and conclude the speaking portion. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this presentation. We did go a little bit over, but you guys had a lot of great questions, so we want to get those answered. I'm going to go ahead and end the speaking portion now. Those of you that have submitted questions that we did not get to, please pay attention to your GoToWebinar panel, and Norm will get to those questions. Thanks. And for everyone else that's going to be dropping off, thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.